RPCS3 is a truly unique emulator, but a lot of users get confused simply because they skip reading the quick start guide. Many people spend hours searching for the best settings for a game without realizing that finding the best settings is literally just a couple of clicks away on the wiki, and unfortunately they waste time following YouTube videos with unoptimized configs. In fact, my most viewed video on the channel has been about setting up RPCS3, which shows just how many people are looking for clear guidance. That's why in this updated video, I'm going to walk you through absolutely everything from start to finish, covering all the essentials you need to know to set up this emulator the right way, while also sharing my years of experience with it. Before we jump into RPCS3, you'll want a clean, well-organized game library. First, it's important to know the formats RPCS3 accepts. There are two main ones: the disk folder format, also called JB folder, which is a folder containing PS3 game, and usually ps3disk.sfb. This is what you get after extracting a disk dump. The other game format is PSN packages, which are .pkg files along with their license files, called .rap, used for digital titles, DLCs, or updates. Since my folders are already set up, let me walk you through them. On one of my drives, I have a main folder named PS3. Inside that is a games folder, and within it are two clear subfolders. One labeled disk games for physical disk dumps, and another labeled digital games for digital PlayStation Network titles. This layout makes it instantly obvious where each type of game belongs. For disk games, remember that RPCS3 doesn't run ISO files directly. You'll need them in the folder format, so be sure to decrypt and extract them. When you open a games folder, you should see PS3 game and usually ps3disk.sfb. Each disk-based game should be stored in its own separate folder. For example, I have the game folder named Demon's Souls containing the PS3 game directory inside. If your folder looks like that, you're good to go. PSN games are straightforward. As you can see, I have 3 PSN games stored in my digital games folder. For each game, create a separate folder with a distinct name so you can easily find it later. Each PSN game also requires a RAP file. This is the license file, and it should be kept right next to the game's .pkg file. Do not rename either the PKG or the RAP file, as changing their names can prevent RPCS3 from recognizing them. I've also already set up another main folder called DLCs and updates. Inside, there's a folder for updates and another for DLCs, each with subfolders for individual games, so everything stays easy to find. Later in the video, I'll show you exactly where to find update files in package format for your games and walk you through the simple process of applying those updates. I should also mention that you don't have to arrange your folders exactly like I do. You can put your games wherever you want. For the best efficiency and to save time later though, it's worth keeping them well organized. This step was not mandatory, but having done it now will make the next parts of the tutorial smoother and save you headaches later. And of course, game ROMs and DLCs are protected by copyright, so you'll need to dump your own games from disks or downloads you own. There's an excellent RPCS3 wiki page with detailed instructions on how to dump your games, so be sure to check that out. Once your library is organized, you're ready to jump straight into the next step. Head over to rpcs3.net. Click on the download button and choose the version for your operating system. Make sure you've installed the Microsoft Visual C++ 2015 to 2022 redistributable. You can find it on the same page next to download dependencies. If you don't have this software, RPCS3 won't start. Once RPCS3 is downloaded, go ahead and create a dedicated folder just for RPCS3. Extract the contents of the zip file right into that folder. Next, we need the PS3 firmware. Go back to RPCS3.net, open the Quick Start tab, and scroll to the PS3 System Software section. Choose Update using a computer, then right-click on the download link for the PS3 update. Select Save Link As, and save it somewhere near your RPCS3 executable. Now open RPCS3. You can set a dark theme, tweak shortcuts, or make RPCS3 run on startup if you like. Make sure you check I have read the quick start guide. Then click continue. Then go to the file menu, choose install firmware, and select the file you just downloaded. Wait for it to finish. Let's start by changing the theme so the interface feels comfortable from the get-go. Head to the Configuration tab, select GUI, and look for the UI Style Sheets box. From there, choose a theme you like, apply it to preview how it looks, and if it fits your style, click Save to lock it in. Now it's time to add some games. If you have disk-based games in the folder format, go to the File menu, choose Add Games, and point it to the folder that contains all of your individual disk game folders. RPCS3 will scan them and add them to your library automatically. If you have digital PSN titles, you can simply drag and drop their PKG files along with their corresponding RAP files into RPCS3. Installing DLC is almost identical to adding a PSN game. For instance, I'll open my game's DLC folder and drag in each PKG file together with its matching RAP license file. It's important that you keep both files exactly as they are. Don't rename them or RPCS3 may not recognize them. Once you've installed them, the DLC will be ready to use the next time you launch your game. If you want to update your games, the easiest method is to use a small utility called RustyPSN. Download it from its official GitHub page. Extract it to a convenient location. And run the program. You can set a folder where you'd like updates to be saved. In my case, I'm going to use the same directory I showed you earlier at the beginning of the video. Then grab the game's serial code from RPCS3 by right-clicking the game, selecting Copy Info, and then Copy Serial. Paste that code into RustyPSN, search for updates, and download the PKG files it finds. Once they're downloaded, drag all the PKG files into RPCS3. Make sure the updates are installed in the correct order if there's more than one. When installation finishes, your game will be up to date. Let's get your controller set up. Open the Pads menu, choose your controller type from the Handler dropdown, make sure it's connected, and test the buttons to confirm everything's working. This is the most important part of the video, figuring out the best settings for each specific game and applying them correctly. The easiest way to start is by checking the game's compatibility. Right-click on the game in your library and select Check Game Compatibility. This will take you to its wiki page, where you'll see a list of settings that are different from RPCS3's default settings. These are the ones you should focus on changing while leaving everything else as it is. For example, I'm going to walk you through changing the settings for God of War 3 to match the optimized recommendations from RPCS3's wiki page. To change or create a new configuration, right-click on the game and select Create Custom Configuration. On the wiki page, it says that in the CPU tab, I need to change the SPU block size to mega, so I'll go ahead and do that. Then in the GPU configuration tab, it recommends setting the frame limit to 60 and turning on both write color buffers and asynchronous texture streaming. It also mentions that if I want to raise the internal resolution above the PS3's native 720p, I should change the resolution scale threshold to 160 by 160. Now for many games, you can simply increase the internal resolution by adjusting the resolution scale to your desired value. But for certain titles like God of War 3, God of War Ascension, and the infamous series, doing so can cause mesh trimming. In those cases, changing other settings like resolution scale threshold or enabling specific patches is necessary. Don't worry, whatever adjustments are needed will always be listed on the wiki page, so just follow what it says. Finally, in the Advanced Configuration tab, the wiki suggests changing RSX FIFO accuracy to atomic, so I'll set that as well. Once you've made all the changes, click Apply and save your custom configuration. As you can see, there's a section in the game's wiki page that explains which patches are recommended to turn on. To enable them, right-click the game, go to Manage Game Patches, read through the descriptions to understand what each one does, and then switch on the ones the wiki suggests. Once you are done, click Apply, then Save. At this point, you've covered almost all the essential steps needed to get your game running, so you can open it up and start playing right away. If you've found the video helpful so far, this is a great time to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss upcoming RPCS3 guides and tips. But for the best possible experience, I recommend watching the rest of the video where I'll go over some optional settings and extra features that can make your gameplay even smoother and more enjoyable. Now let's start with some important global settings. For performance, I recommend setting the GPU renderer to Vulkan in the graphics settings. And if you notice any screen tearing while playing, simply turn on VSync to fix it. There's another tweak you should know about that can really enhance performance. Some games on RPCS3 run at a locked frame rate of 30 frames per second, and while that's fine for many players, others want to push beyond those limits for a smoother experience. This is where a special setting called V-blank frequency comes in, and knowing how to adjust it can make a big difference. You can find V-blank frequency in the Advanced tab of the emulator's configuration. It essentially controls the maximum frame rate a game can run at. By default, V-blank frequency is set to 60 Hz, and for many games, that matches their native frame rate limit, sometimes even locking them to 30 FPS. If you raise the V-blank frequency, say to 120 Hz, you may be able to unlock the game's frame rate and run it at higher FPS, as long as the game doesn't have its own built-in limit. There's a dedicated page on the RPCS3 wiki called the V-blank compatible games list, which I'll link in the description. It tells you which games work well with higher V-blank settings and won't crash when you change them. You can check that list before adjusting V-blank frequency so you know your game can handle it. Now that we've covered performance tweaks, let's move on to another powerful feature RPCS3 has recently introduced in the past few years. RPCS3 now supports save states, much like many other emulators. Don't confuse these with regular in-game save data. Save states are snapshots of the exact moment in your game when you create them. They're perfect for tough spots where you don't want to replay a long section. You can just load your save state and jump right back in. For example, one of the best showcases of save states is the legendary game Demon's Souls. The game is famous for its unforgiving checkpoints and true Souls-like experience of losing all your progress on death. To demonstrate, let's create a save state right before the first boss fight, the Vanguard, where most players are expected to die for the very first time. I stand at the fog gate before the boss fight, then save my state so I can retry this boss as many times as I want. You can create the save state either with your keyboard by pressing Ctrl S or with a controller by pressing the home button to open the RPCS3 menu, going into the save state section and choosing save emulation state. After saving, one of two things may happen. Either the emulator restarts smoothly and your save state is stored correctly, or the program crashes in the middle of saving. This happened to me a few times, but the good news is that most of the time, even when RPCS3 crashes, the save state itself remains intact and still loads normally afterwards. To load it, right-click the game and select Boot with Savestate. Or if you're already inside the game and the program didn't crash, press the home button on your controller again, go to the Save State menu and choose Reload Last Emulation State. Honestly, I didn't even realize at first that after beating the Vanguard boss, the game actually throws you straight into a brand new section. And discovering that surprised me in the best way. It really hooked me and made me appreciate just how different the Souls formula feels when you have the power of save states to explore and retry moments like that. Keep in mind a few important points when it comes to saving. You should avoid creating a save state while the game is actively saving. For example, when the autosave icon is on screen or during a manual save, or while the game is installing its game data for disk-based titles. And that's it. If this guide helped you out, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more emulator tutorials, and I'll see you in the next video.